wasn't ready.
Welcome back to the perfect place to spend a rain-soaked night exploring some charming pieces of antiquity. Everything seems to be in place, despite the ebb and flow of the shop stock of antiques. The feeling of warmth it provides never changes. However, in the far back, a soft light glows from a room you've never noticed before. The sound of rain seems to be louder there, perhaps because of its large glass dome. Some call this
At least it wasn't like funny, bro.
the rain lounge.
I know that sucks.
This special
Thank you for sharing your
is the
meal with me.
haunt of antique garden furniture,
I like the flavor.
dozens of plants, and weather-worn statues.
Yeah.
A pair of
It's
vintage
called a Rain Day
Japanese fishing
Antiques. It's a
floats
Sleepcast.
dangle
Wait,
from
the
the
food?
hook
Listen for a sec.
along the rounded wall. One is still held by a
Let me
tangled
see
and
what?
knotted
What?
fishing net.
Oh, I'm streaming too. You're streaming too.
The smell of sea salt
I feel myself sleeping like a
mostly
weirdo.
faded away still emanates from the floats. A reminder of their previous life before they found their home in the rain lounge. It's easy to lose oneself, imagining where each item came from in Rain Day Antiques. And why not? Tonight, you've got all the time in the world to loves rummaging around in thrift stores and yard sales, for starters, especially the ones that at first glance don't look at all promising. You never know what you might find. His mission is to make sure his store is never less than a treasure trove for his beloved customers. rises from age, and its round metal keys have cream-colored medals, the letters clearly marked in black. If you were to tap a key, any key, one of the little hammers at the back of the machine would separate itself from the group and leap up, eager to make its mark on the piece of paper his fur, which has, frankly, seen better days. He doesn't show it. In his prime, he belonged to an exuberant child who dragged him about by one paw, up and down the stairs of their palatial home. So it's hardly surprising he's a bit the worse for wear. The child named him Bartholomew, after himself. Bartholomew the bear leans in close to the door on his left. Tilly, whose round pink cheek is pressed against his rumpled one. What are they whispering about? The antique store is really overflowing with stock these days. Henry always lays out the more recently acquired items on a table by the door. It's a higgledy-piggledy collection of all sorts of things. You could take a seat in the ragged old armchair and leaf through this box of original LPs. Whoever owned these was a big fan of reggae. Or this collection of old prints and a ceremony of pastoral, botanical, and architectural drawings. A picture of a speckled trout with a seam of pink running across its middle has been drawn out of the box and propped against a vase by a former customer, perhaps a keen fisherman. And here's a striking etching of a row of trees at dusk. Edition 1 of 20, it says in pencil in the left-hand corner. Quite a find. But soon enough, your eyes roam elsewhere, to these charming silver-plated opera glasses, or those Staffordshire mantelpiece dogs peering up at you intently, and all the while your ear is tuned to the gentle hush and rush of the rain. You should be able to spot something new every single time you visit. That's Henry's hope. And he also hopes, of course, that you'll visit again very soon. At the back of the store, there's a door open, leading to a room you've never seen before. Business has been going so well that Henry recently had this old storeroom refurbished into something rather special. The ceiling has a domed skylight, matching the one near the front door, and there are windows on all sides, so large it is as though the walls are made of glass. You might think of it as the Rain Lounge. It's really quite special. And many plants, their fronds curling romantically round the edges of the room, rain hammering down on all sides. Here's a scallop shell bird bath, and a stone cherub clutching a pot of ivy. The plants are not antiques, of course, though Henry might say otherwise. There's the chaotic but delightful rubber plant, for example. He's been known to claim it's descended from a rubber plant belonging to a famous Viennese psychoanalyst. It sits on a shelf that runs across one of the windows, its branches arching every which way, alongside a collection of trailing plants in terracotta pots. Lighting from the backyard beyond shows off this scene beautifully, picking out objects arranged with care among the pots, like these two bowls of colored glass. Vintage Japanese fishing floats, one still held by its net of knotted rope. What seas have they floated in? How far they must have traveled to get here.
There are few places in the world quite so serene as Loch Dormant. Its position is one of near-perfect isolation. High up among the rolling, seemingly endless moors. It may not be the most famous loch in the world. It may not even be the most famous loch in the country. And yet, it is special, and its stillness and its mystery. The water here is calm, magisterially so, and therefore its effect on the mind is calming too. Its very presence insists upon tranquility, reminds you that tranquility is a naturally occurring phenomenon. From here in the lodge, we have a superb view out over the loch, and it's this view that we'll be enjoying this evening. We'll be drinking it in, lingering long over the details of the environment, its landmarks, and its wildlife. Before we do, I think it's nice to begin with a little wind down. Tonight's wind down is an exercise we call noting. It helps to soothe the mind, and once you've learned it, you can even use it if you wake up in the night. We're going to be counting our breaths, and then just gently noting thoughts and feelings as they arise. We're not trying to change them. We're simply labeling thinking as thinking, feeling as feeling. It may sound incredibly simple, but it can help to create distance between ourselves and the thought, ourselves and the feeling, so we don't get so involved in it. That in turn creates a more restful state of mind. In other words, the perfect state of mind for gentle, restful sleep. So to begin with, just take a moment or two to get comfortable. Make sure you're nice and cool. Just starting with some nice, big, deep breaths. Breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. And with the next out-breath, allow the breath to return to its natural rhythm in and out through the nose. And just feeling the weight of the body pressing down into your bed. And in your own time, start to count the breaths as they pass. 1 with the rise, 2 with the fall, just up to a count of 10. When you get to 10, you can stop and start again at 1. And remember, anytime you get distracted, the moment you realize you're distracted by thought, simply note it thinking and return to the breath. Or if a feeling arises, feeling and return to the breath. That noting is very gentle, not harsh at all. Think of it like a feather, just gently touching the surface of a crystal glass. I'm going to give you a few moments just to keep counting the breath and noting any thoughts and feelings that arise. That's great. Our lodge here was built long ago. The oldest sections, the kitchens and the great room, are more than 300 years old, in fact. But today, it has all the trappings of comfortable Highland living. Deep-buttoned, wing-backed armchairs, a large stone fireplace fed in the winter months with fragrant firwood, a red, patterned Turkish carpet worn almost threadbare in places, particularly in front of the fire. Various paintings showing natural subjects, including stags. Well, rather a lot of them, actually. And many distinguished-looking ladies and gentlemen in clothing from times gone by. There are also pictures of the landscape in its various seasons. Here, all covered in snow. Here, when the heather is in full bloom and the moorland is a purple blanket, gently stirring in the sun. Here, at night, when the moon is doubled by its reflection in the water. little beach beyond our veranda is a great place to skim stones. One of the prime locations for stone skimming, maybe in all the world. The urge is irresistible. There seems to be an inexhaustible supply of good, flat, round pebbles to skim, despite the many centuries of stone skimmers who must have visited the shore. Where are these stones coming from? And how is the stock replaced? Surely the loch, in its current state of stillness, is much too tranquil to wash more perfectly flat, perfectly round pebbles ashore. And yet, finding one is never too difficult. This is another of the loch's mysteries. If you get the angle just right, you might count more than 10 bounces. But beyond that, it becomes hard to discern the exact number. All you have to go on are the complex, overlapping ripples emanating out and out in the distance, overlapping like the mechanism of a clock. It is a pure kind of game, and declaring a winner is often a matter of honourable agreement. Of course, not all games have a winner. Stone skimming, in this respect, is more like play. Grown-ups delighting in a work of physics, that a rock grown just right can turn the surface of a loch as bouncy as elastic. Opposite the fireplace is a large set of windows, occupying most of the far wall. These offer an exceptional view out over the loch. Although we're high up in these mountains, the surrounding hills shield the waters from the westerly winds, which, blowing in from the southwest, around the peaks just 2 miles from here. Here it's very calm, very serene. This evening, especially so. It's warm and cosy in this room, and the lodge's resident dog, a large old boxer known as the Commander, is asleep by the fire. His large black eyes closed, and his face in repose, doleful as those of his breed tend to be. The landscape around the loch is rugged, with outcroppings of granite that push through the peat. From the edge of the water to where the hillsides turn to scree, the ground is covered with heather. Its colours reflect the season, a rich green in the rains of the autumn, sometimes blanketed with snow in winter, a dark green turning to purple with its tiny flowers in the spring, and a lighter green, almost yellow in places, in the summer, particularly if it's been a warm summer. In amongst the heather, in certain sunken areas, the brackens grow, their ends endlessly waving in the breeze. The bracken seems very dense, and yet you can cut it with a pine stick, cut a path and make a den, and curl up to sleep on a summer's day falls. On the eastern banks of the loch, in the middle distance, you might make out a clutch of trees. These are ancient pines that have grown here for thousands of years, since the last ice age at least. They are tall, elegant trees, the majority of their branches sprouting at their tops like clouds of green smoke around a tall chimney. Despite their proportions, the trees are strong, and even on the stormiest days, their trunks and branches are supple in the winds. After a stormy day, their pine cones drift across the lake in a little flotilla. Their seeds, when they fall, have a single wing, so they turn as they fall, drifting in the breeze. You have to admire their perfect design. On a clear day, the sky above the loch is a great place to spot the eagle. These huge birds sometimes have a wingspan of 5 or 6 feet. And with their wings outspread, the feathers at the tips splay out like fingers. They have a feel for the air's invisible currents
Sounds good.
and know how to turn them to their advantage. The way that a good skier can recognize a fast slope and turn their skis to ride down it. The eagles fish for the large salmon that live in the loch, dropping out of the sky like a stone and bearing fish off back to their nests high up on the craggy peaks. Quite a lunch, and quite a view to go with it. No one knows quite how deep the loch is. No plumb line has ever reached its bottom, and no one has ever seen fit to apply more advanced technology to it. And isn't it better that way? Numbers are only one way to measure a thing, after all. Better to imagine its depth.
That's close enough, stranger.
We're a peaceful
Could
farm.
be as
We don't
deep
want any trouble.
as the mountains on either side are high,
You have anything
or
to
it
trade?
could
If
be
you're looking to
as
trade, you can talk to my wife.
as it
She's
is
up by the
still.
house. But be warned, you try anything,
That
you're asking
could
for
be
a fight.
very deep.
Let me tell you, farming ain't easy.
It could be as
Out in
deep
the
as
field all day,
10
every day,
double-decker
and every minute
buses,
of it spent
3
watching your back.
T-Rexes standing on each other's shoulders.
You gotta be
If
careful.
one could even
Never
imagine
know who you can
such a
trust
thing.
these days.
Won't argue with that. Blake Abernathy.
The
You new
truth
to the
is,
Commonwealth?
when it comes to its depth, we just don't
I've been around.
know.
Good to see a new face. How about you? Ever think
It's one
about
of the
working the land?
mysteries of Loch
I'm sure I'll
Lomond.
give it a try someday.
Well,
It
good luck to
is
you then.
so
Maybe I'll see you at the
very
Diamond
deep
City Market someday and we'll do a
and
swap.
very
Word
still.
of advice though, if you do start up a farm, be ready to deal with the raiders. Why do all the hard work when you can just take what you want?
Sounds like bad news to me.
You really are.
Over
Last
the
time
years,
now,
Right.
that's why.
many people
There's
have
nothing
compared
worse
the
than losing a
Loch
child.
to a
Sorry,
mirror.
I don't have much. If you could get it back.
Don't
If
worry.
it is a mirror,
I'll get that locket
the
back for you.
face it
Good.
reflects
Sure.
is the skies. The sky gazes down upon its reflection, delighted. It never grows tired of it. All night and all day. And so it almost looks like the lodge's veranda, which juts out over the sloping bank, which rolls down to the water's edge, is reaching out into the sky, as though the sky and water are interchangeable. That the tufted ducks, which sometimes come to fish the loch, are swimming out into the sky, V-shaped wakes rippling out across the clouds behind them. Loch Dormant is longer than it is wide. On a map, it looks like a great, long blue finger pointed out in the direction of the sea. Our lodge sits at its easterly tip, which means that some way off we can see both its northern and southern banks. Its western edge being hidden by the slight curve of the hillside juts out into the loch. Nearest us, the bank is gradual. There are reeds which perforate the silver surface of the lake, and a pebble and sand beach where the peat meets the water. But on the northern side, the loch's shore drops off suddenly. It's a local tradition to swim in the loch on a New Year's morning. Sometimes they even have to break the ice to do it. A gaggle of brave men and women flock to the bank in their bathing suits and swimming caps and dive from a rock straight into the icy water. It's one way to start the year. Certainly, everything after that would feel like a walk in the park by comparison. More than one family of otters live along the banks of the loch. You'll see them padding around, searching among the flat stones, their hands shiny and black, as though they were wearing little leather gloves. The otter's pelt, when dry, is soft and downy looking. It stirs in the breeze at the water's edge. When they dive into the water, they're instantly transformed into something far sleeker, raking the water's surface with their tails, which are shiny and smooth as those of the fish that they hunt. The otters gather food by day, and at night they sleep in a den called a hold, an underground nest padded with twigs and the down of their underfur. Its entrance under the water to keep out prowlers. Sounds like a cozy place to sleep now, doesn't it? In the middle of the loch is an island, and on the island the ruins of a castle. This place was once the stronghold of the local laird. He had the walls built 4 feet thick in places. In the summer months, when the wind isn't too chilly, it's rather nice to take a boat out from the jetty and row over there. The stones are overgrown with ivy, but you can still make out the shapes of rooms where the nobleman and his attendants lived all those years ago. It would have been impossible for them to imagine, I suppose, that their stronghold would be overcome, not by the neighbouring clan or marauders from over the sea, but time and the wind and 500 hard winters. What does it mean that all walls over a long enough period collapse? That the world's natural tendency is toward openness, flatness, and a lack of division. Maybe that is why Loch Dormant itself is so calm. Maybe that's the thing that it knows. That underlying everything, there is a kind of stillness, a kind of peace. Night is falling now on the loch. The fire is burning low, and the commander is snoring on his cushion by the fire. He opens his eyes for a moment and regards us from under his expressive brows before falling back into a deep sleep. The surface of the loch is still, perfectly still and perfectly calm. The moon appears on its surface, white and translucent as fine china. The loch reflects the moon and stars, and it's as though our lodge were built upon the edge of of an endless vista of sky and stars and moon, stretching off into the night as far as the eye can see. A dream of stillness and night, of sky and stars and pine trees standing tall, and ripples on a loch. Hey there. You're just in time for tonight's tour of the Winter Park. There's a layer of fresh snow on the grass and in the branches of the trees. It makes the old, familiar park seem new, as though it were wearing a costume. But although it's cold, you don't have to worry about keeping warm, because we're going to be using a highly unusual mode of transport, a magic bubble. It's kind of like a soap bubble, only it's one that you can fit inside, and it travels on the gentlest of breezes. It means we can tour the park in this special weather without any special clothing. No gloves, no extra pairs of socks, and no red noses. It brings a whole new meaning to just drifting off. Before we set out, let's begin with a little wind down exercise. Tonight's wind down is an exercise we call noting. It helps to soothe the mind, and once you've learned it, you can even use it if you wake up in the night. We're going to be counting our breaths, and then just gently noting thoughts and feelings as they arise. We're not trying to change them. We're simply labeling thinking as thinking, feeling as feeling. It may sound incredibly simple, but it can help to create distance between ourselves and the thought, ourselves and the feeling, so we don't get so involved in it.
Hey!
In turn, creates a more restful state of mind. In other words, the perfect state of mind for gentle, restful sleep. So, to begin
Oh,
with,
thank you.
just
Lemonade,
take a
cherry,
moment
cherry,
or two
lemonade,
to
something.
get
I love
comfortable.
it. Thanks.
Make sure you're nice.
Good to see you, brother.
Yeah.
Did you get dinner?
Yes.
Just
Okay.
starting with some
Did you
nice,
get your medicine?
big,
I took my medicine.
Okay. All right, I'll let you know.
breathing
Your son
in
was
through
very
the
helpful.
nose
Thank you,
and
brother.
out through the
Thank
mouth.
you. Good to see you.
Yep.
And with the next out breath, allow the breath to return to its natural rhythm, in and out through the nose, and just feeling the weight of the body pressing down into your bed. And in your own time, starting to count the breaths as they pass. 1 with the rise, 2 with the fall. Just up to a count of 10. When you get to 10, you can stop and start again at 1. And remember, anytime you get distracted, the moment you realize you're distracted by thought, simply note it, thinking, and return to the breath. Or, if a feeling arises, feeling, and return to the breath. That noting is very gentle, not harsh at all. Think of it like a feather, gently touching the surface of a crystal glass. I'm going to give you a few moments just to keep counting the breath and noting any thoughts and feelings that arise. You drift over a grove of elm trees. Their smooth black branches twist up and sideways and back again, standing out against the pale snow. Beneath the fresh snow, in the deep earth of the land, the roots of those elm trees tangle and stretch. It's almost as though the branches and roots are mirror images. These crooked trees remind you of the path that you see from far above the park. The path winding around the ponds and the gardens, around the statues and the fountains. The trail is not perfectly straight here. The fastest way to go from point to point is not important in this park. The elm trees do not care how far or how fast their branches reach. They simply grow. In this park, you can move at your own pace as well. Your bubble hovers over the park, drifting up and down, this way and that way. Wherever you go, you see little globes of light shining up from the ground. In the gardens, throughout the groves of trees, all along the pathways. These are lampposts. They cast yellow pools of light on the space around them. The park glows with all these lampposts, illuminating the evening for people on the ground. From your point of view, you can almost imagine that the lampposts are stars as you sail through space. You notice more glimmers of light along the pathway. A duo of local musicians have come out to play. A saxophone winks with a gold flash. The strings of a cello shine bronze as the musician plucks away. People gather around the musicians, happy to hear music. These sounds float up to you, too, listening along to tunes from each corner of the park. You sail over the center of the park and spot the oldest tree here. The maple tree has grown through many winters. Right now, the top of every thick branch is covered in a layer of fresh snow. It's a gorgeous contrast. The smooth, dark wood on one side and white fluff on the other. These branches taper off into twigs, stretching up and out from the massive trunk. The white-throated sparrow loves these thin maple twigs. You can see one now, towards the top of the tree. Most birds leave the park during the winter, but this sparrow doesn't mind the cold. In fact, the little bird blends in quite nicely with the wintry landscape. His feathers are extra fluffy to stay warm here. His belly is white. His wings are speckled brown and black, like the wood of the maple. Just above his shiny black eyes, there's a puff of yellow feathers. It's as if the bird is wearing a hat to stay cozy in the cold. He chirps away, nudging a
Even the green pine trees that ring the lawn seem to glitter as their heavy branches droop with snow. White as the snow is on this lawn, the golden light of nearby lampposts glows on the ground like candlelight. The ice crystals catch this light, casting tiny rainbows across the lawn. As your bubble shifts around, you see flashes of sapphire, of violet, of emerald. In between these pops of color, you notice gray imprints on the snow. So many footsteps, big and small, where people had strolled around the lawn all day. You can still hear the crunching steps of other people as they walk through the park now. The prints slowly fill up with fresh snow, leaving a smooth canvas for tomorrow. As snow flies past your bubble, you can glimpse individual flakes for a moment before they fall away. This one, made from intersecting circles. That one, petaled like a daisy. Every piece of snow, unique, with its own winding path, from clouds to earth. People love this park. That love makes it more beautiful. They want it to be safe and clean for other people as much as for themselves. On the path below you, a gardener in a thick navy coat sweeps snow to the sides of the walkway. The gardener pushes the broom left and then right, snow piling up. The snow is soft and fluffy, very easy to sweep away. Every few steps, the gardener turns around to scatter salt on the cleared path. This makes it easier for people to walk here without slipping. You can see the soft, rhythmic motions of the gardener, slowly revealing the cobblestone path beneath the fresh snow. You can see the gardener throw glittering grains of salt on the path, as if casting a magic spell to keep people from slipping. It snows every day in the park, and so the gardener sweeps every day to keep the path safe. When you float around and see those clean cobblestone paths shining in the night, you know that somebody who loves the park has labored there. You come across a bridge while gliding through the sky. Mossy gray stones, carefully stacked to span across a half-frozen pond. There are solid guardrails on the sides of the bridge, so a person can lean out and look at the water. In the center of these rails, on each side, you see urns carved from stone. In the summer, these might be filled with growing pansies. Right now, the urns collect snow as if they were bowls of ice cream. The bridge arches up in the middle, just enough for rowboats to pass underneath. The pond never totally freezes here. There's always clear water flowing between the banks of ice.